Your Daily 180, 180 seconds of pure Bible study.
Psalm 89 in verse number 14 says, "Righteousness and justice are the foundation of thy throne." God is a righteous and just God. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 1, we're told that we are to be imitators of God. We're to act like God. And when we do that, we find real joy and real fulfillment, and that's called being faithful to the character of God. In 1 John chapter 1, beginning at verse number 5, we read about the character of God. "This is the message which we have heard from him and declare to you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all." Not a single particle of impurity can be found in God. You probably know a lot of good men. I know a lot of good men. I know a lot of good women. And if we examine them closely, if we had the ability to look into their heart, we might see just a tremendous amount of goodness. But I guarantee you, somewhere in there, it might just be a little bit, and we might think it's insignificant and no big deal, but at least somewhere in there, there'd be a little impurity. That's the way it is with men. But with God, there's not even a speck of impurity, no darkness whatsoever. And notice what he says in verse 6. "If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not practice the truth." Let me tell you, friends, the ultimate absence of joy comes when we forfeit the idea of righteous living. Now, will we measure up in and of our own ability? Absolutely not. But verse 7, we talked a little bit about this last week. I want you to look closely at verse number 7. It says, "But if we walk in the light," in contrast to what he had just been talking about, "if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanses us from all sin." Now I want to drive this point home. I talked about this last week, but I really want to drive this home. What sin is under consideration there in verse number 7? It's the sin that occurs while we're walking in the light. You see, the idea of walking in the light is not sinless perfection, but it is the idea of a commitment. I am going to pursue the likeness of Jesus, and because I'm human, and there's weakness of the flesh, and there's problems in my life, I'm going to fail, I'm going to stumble, and I'm going to bumble. But I'm not going to give up on the idea that I'm going to follow Jesus. And when I do that, therefore I'm committed to righteousness. And when I'm committed to righteousness, I'm going to enjoy real joy. Join us again tomorrow for your Daily 180.